going to go ahead and get started because you're here, and that's important. Um, I was excited when Dr. Lamb called me one day out of the blue, and he said, "Look, I might need you to do a 605 class along with your 601 class." And I said, "Absolutely, I would be honored to do that." And at that time, I didn't know. I assumed that it would be a group of students that, a cohort that we had not had. And then when I realized that it was students that we had already worked with, um, except for the ones that were in Dr. Hamilton's class. Uh, and I kind of knew who a lot of them were, because a lot of you were, because of of our coaching sessions. So I had seen you, and we talk. So I know about the students in all the classes. So we were honored that we were able to work with you to bring closure to this journey that you started a little over about a year ago. So it seems like it's gone by fast. It seems like just yesterday we saw you for the first time. But we're excited to be here. I hope all of you have had a chance to go ahead and look in Blackboard and to get ahead. I'm going to go over some things pretty quickly tonight because we've got to hit the road running this week. Kudos to Philip and to Rebecca. Philip has already completed task 1 of the CAP, and he's already submitted task 2 for me to review, which I will finish tonight sometime. Rebecca was cleared with task 1 to move on to task 2 effective today. And as well as that, I think both of them have submitted their first assignments, and somebody else has submitted their first assignment as well. So that was good that you went ahead. I highly recommend that, the rest of you go ahead and you get on put yourself on a regiment, on a schedule, and I know you will after tonight. While we have 15 weeks in the semester, you do not have 15 weeks to get your evidence work done and your task stream things done that Dr. Revis will be working with you with. You don't have time. You don't have 15 weeks to do that. So I've put you on a tight schedule because they have due dates well in advance because of graduation purposes. And the good thing about it is you're going to be able to march. You get in addition to getting your licensure, you're getting a second master's degree, and that is amazing that you're going to be able to get that. You've paid a lot for it and you deserve it, but that's going to look so good when it comes to your resume. But I just want to say welcome, and we're going to hit the road running. Dr. Revis, you'd like to say anything while I'm bringing up my share screen?
Well, I'm just so thrilled to be working with you. It's great to start with you and to end with you. And so I just am looking forward to helping and support you. If you get stuck on a task, I'll be glad, reach out to me. I'll be glad to support you that way. The biggest thing that I will do is help you make sure that you have your competency folio completed and ready to go. That tends to be something that, unless you're very intentional about, tend to overlook it, and we don't want to wait to the last minute. So I'm going to work with you throughout this semester to make sure you get that done and are not trying to scurry here at the end of the semester. So I'm excited to be back and working with you and support you in any way I can.
And Dr. Revis will have part of the agenda every week that she can be on here with us to talk about task stream. So you're going to hear it every week because we have to push you. This is what tonight's going to look like, and this is in your under session 1 in Blackboard. We're going to do a Blackboard overview very quickly. We're going to talk about your Zoom teams and responsibilities, and they have, I just randomly did it. It doesn't matter. You need to be able to work with anybody and, with the things that we're doing. I'm going to go ahead and introduce the CAP because you've got to hit the road running with that. And then Dr. Revis has already talked about task stream and coaching. And if there's anything she's forgotten, she'll talk about it at the end. This is what week 1 responsibilities are going to be. This is going to be by Sunday at 9 o'clock. I need to see this done. If you haven't done so, you must complete your verification activity in Blackboard. That's for me and for Dr. Revis. You've got to go in there and complete it for both of us. Assignment 1, which you'll go over, is due by Sunday, and that is part of the reading that we'll go over. It's not a hard task, but it's an important task. And then after I introduce the CAP tonight, evidence 5, then your task 1 is going to be due to me by Sunday night for review. You will have a review, and after that, there will be a review and a final 4 evaluation every week until we get the CAP done. By the end of 4 weeks, we'll be through with the CAP. I'll bring closure to it. By the 5th week, we should be, I think it's week 5, we will already be into the SIOP, because you'll only have about 3 or 4 weeks that we can put all that together too. So there's a lot to do. So please do not procrastinate. And all of you know that's worked with me. You know, Dr. Revis and we stay behind you about, we don't want any late work. So, you know, so I just say, get her done. Let me pull up, let me see, there it is. Let's, and I hope, again, I hope you've had a chance to look at this. I'm not going to go over everything. You know what, you've done this 100 times, so you know what most of this stands for. But I do want to, I want to point out some things. Your weekly class schedule is there, and it breaks it down. You know what we're going to. What your responsibilities are. Okay, here it is. It's trying to come up open. Okay, come on. Okay, there. And you see from that, you know, week 1, the topics that we're going to talk about, the Zoom dates, the textbook, your readings. These are your required readings that you've got to do, what you've got to submit to Blackboard, and then what you've got to submit to Task Stream for that particular week. All those deadline dates are on there, and I've tried to color code things so that, you know, that I can emphasize those things that that's of importance. Well, all of it's of importance, but to help you with your deadline date. So please make sure that you adhere to this responsibility week by week. The other thing that I wanted to point out was where did it go? There it is. These are your Zoom teams. And again, these are people that, you know the people in your groups. You'll be working together with your case studies. You'll be working together with your project assignment 11 that Dr. Revis will talk about briefly in just a few minutes. And then other assignments that this is the team that you will be working with virtually over the course of the semester. Wanted to remind you of, and the other, Rebecca sent me a question today about, you know, discussion board. There's not a discussion board in here. And the reason, Rebecca, again, like I responded back, when you do discussion board, it comes to me as well, and it makes me go in there and do work because I have to look at whatever you've submitted and clear it out. So it just, y'all know how to communicate with each other now. So that's why I chose not to put it in there, because when you go into the assignment section and put your assignments in there for that week, then the discussion board is not, you're not commenting on each other's work anymore. So that is why I didn't put it in there. But you know how to communicate with each other, and you can always set up a Zoom, your own Zoom, if you need to do something, even when it's not something that I've assigned. But the main thing I want to do this evening is to go ahead and introduce you to evidence 5 of the CAP. Now, if you'll look over here, this is where the CAP guidance. The CAP guidance, let me click on that. This is where I've given you lots of stuff, and I cheated. You better not tell on me. I cheated. I'm not supposed to give you anything because you're supposed to pretty much, but we've got such a short turnaround time. And if Dr. Lamb catches this, he might get me, but I don't care. I gave you some stuff, and we're going to go over. These are your CAP helpful hints to help you. And those that have already worked with it, Rebecca, they do help you, don't they? They guide you. This is a video that Dr. Bullis did sometime in the past. I looked at it. It's something good to look at. This tells you what your responsibilities are. This is a breakdown of the CAP. If you're from South Carolina, that's an example using something other than the teacher working condition survey. In North Carolina, this uses the teacher working condition survey. And this is a PowerPoint that Dr. Revis has done in the past that is a reminder of some things that you need to remember about APA as you're doing your work. But with that in mind, I want to go ahead and I want to dig into, I'm going to go to my helpful hints document, and I want you to look at what is the CAP. The CAP is evidence 5, and it's a plan, and it's a cultural advocacy action plan. Okay, now without even thinking, without even reading or whatever, which of you would talk about what do you think when it says cultural advocacy action plan? What do you think what are you dealing with? Somebody answer. When it talks about a cultural advocacy action plan, what do you think this is all about as a leader? Anybody?
Building school climate.
Okay, looking at your school climate. Okay, anything else? When you talk about the school climate, Rebecca, what are you referring to?
The overall morale of the students and the teachers.
Okay, the culture of the school, it could be the morale. Is there anything else that would relate to the culture of the school?
Demographics.
The demographics. You can live in one county and go from town to town or from city to town, and the demographics is going to be different. The culture is going to be different based on where you are, and you have to know that. Dr. Revis, you probably, as we have moved from one school to another or worked in different situations, you had, as a leader, you have to adapt to the culture, or you don't survive. You don't go in there and say, I'm going to change the culture. You learn to work with and live in the culture, and you may help redefine some things that the culture is about, to try to make it better, but you can't change the culture. Dr. Revis, any comments on that?
Well, that's right. Every school, I think, has a unique climate and culture. I think you have to be very aware of that. And you have to learn to work within it, as Dr. Stedman said. But the one thing you are going to try to impact is developing a culture of high performance.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, that's what we're all about, is student learning. And some of the tasks that you've been involved with all throughout this program focuses on how to support and build that culture of high performance. So That's the one thing we're all striving for.
And everything that you do as a leader, you started out with the APSL with dealing with student performance. And everything that you've done has been centered around what can I do to improve the overall student achievement at my school. That's whether if you improve morale, then you're improving teacher performance. As a result, students benefit from that. So, I mean, it's a domino effect, but it always points back to the student. And as you look at the culture of the school, as Dr. Revis said, your primary focus should be, what can I do as I plan and advocate for a cultural change or a cultural improvement? What can I do that's going to overall benefit the overall achievement of the children that have been entrusted to me? So with that in mind, this is what the CAP is going to entail. Task 1 of the CAP is going to be the needs assessment. How many needs assessments have you done in this class already? Several. So you refer back to some of the things that you've already done. Task 2, you're looking at the school environmental analysis. You've already done a lot of that. That's what the teacher working condition survey or Cognia or whatever you're doing in South Carolina, that's what that helps you determine. And then the cultural competence assessment. And we'll break those down step by step. Okay, for the candidates that are in North Carolina, you're going to include data related to the 5 areas. Notice I said 5 areas that the North Carolina State Board of Education have identified to measure from your most recent teacher working conditions survey results. Now, when I did this document, the most recent one was 2018 or 2020. Anyway, you just got the most recent one back, and I think it was 2020 was the most recent one there. So that's what you refer back to, the most recent one that you can refer to. And again, if you worked previously with an old teacher working condition survey, you can take that information and you can say that with the 2020 or whatever it was, teacher working, but this, we just received our results back, and you can do a comparison to see where you are based on where you were, as you're looking at. You can do that as you're providing. But these are the 5 areas that you deal with. Do not deviate from these 5 areas. You're going to talk about empowerment. You're going to talk about leadership, facilities, resources, and time. These are the 5 that you work with. I've given you the link, and this will take you to the most recent teacher working conditions survey in North Carolina. And if you're in South Carolina, you can pick us, you can get some ideas from that as well. So I would suggest that you go in there and that you look at that as well, because there's some good stuff from that. When you open up this link, you should see the following information. Column 1 will include the names of all public school systems in North Carolina. You're going to click on your school system. Once you click on your school system, scroll until you find your school. Click on your school for the most recent results. Column 2 is reports. There are 3 icons. Click on the first icon for a detailed North Carolina, whatever the current report is, if it's later than 2018, whatever the current is. Click on the second icon for a summary of your North Carolina, and if it's the 2020 report or whatever it is, click on that for summary of that. This is the one that is most preferred for your purposes. It's easy once you get in there, but just follow that. And what you can do once you get it, once you find what you need, with the visuals, the graphics and things, you just copy and paste information from that is relevant to what you're doing. And then you click on the third icon for a comparison report. It's going to compare you to your district, schools in your district. It's going to compare you to other schools in the state. etc. So you look at that. It'll give you a lot of great information. Again, I said you're permitted to cut and paste information that is applicable to your particular school. This includes arts, crafts, etc. Charter schools in North Carolina should have this same information. Now, if you're in South Carolina, a private school, etc., you will be responsible for finding a data source that will provide you with the same information. It's there. It would be wise to look at North Carolina in order to find exactly what it is you're looking for. South Carolina, that's Advanced Ed, now Cognia, and there's other sources as well that you can look at in South Carolina. But again, you're looking at these 5 areas: empowerment, leadership, facilities, resources, and time. So what do I have to do? Task 1 is your needs assessment. You know, there's not a template for this, but I've given you an example to look at, and you know how to build this template now. Prompt 1 is you're to complete an analysis of your school's climate for each of these 5 areas. The 5 areas, this is going to include narrative work and graphic information as well. Again, if it's the teacher working conditions survey, all of that is there for you. You got to go find it and then you talk about it. And again, you've done a lot of this work in some of the other previous work that you've done. And then prompt 2, this is what you're going to do. You're to complete a needs assessment based on the results of the data you collected from prompt 1. The needs assessment must include the following: a background description of the setting, a clear statement of the purpose of the needs assessment, a list of participants who participated during the needs assessment process, and that could be your PLC, and at what stage of the process the participants were active, an analysis of your findings, and then a set of recommendations that identifies strategies that will help lead the school to a safer, more culturally diverse environment for teaching and learning. So those 5 areas, you're beginning to look at what are the needs and what are the recommendations for making improvements. That's what you're doing. The ultimate goal is that you're going to build an action plan. So you've got to identify where the needs are to build that action plan. And then this link here provides you more information about a needs assessment. Before I go any further, are there any questions about what you've got to do for task 1? Again, task 1 is due for my review by Sunday night. And those of you that have worked with it, and that would be Philip and Rebecca, both of you, speak up for just a minute. Once you get into it, Rebecca, did you find a lot of the information already embedded in some of the other work that you did?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what about you, Philip?
Yes, sir. I referred back to some of the stuff in the APTL and the OMA, and also utilizing the working condition survey and also the North Carolina School Report Card.
Okay.
That information was able to provide a lot of data points that I was able to pull from and get some feedback. And I'll tell you that referring back to Dr. Hamilton's stuff that we did in the APTL, like some of the surveying tools and observation tools that we were using to evaluate the teachers and the stuff and the status of the school, that was very beneficial as well.
Right. And then those that were with Dr. Revis and me, you had to do the very same thing. So what Philip's talking about, you've got that. Both of you, once you got into it and you set your mind that you were going to do it, it doesn't take an inordinate amount of time to complete this task, does it? Once you set your mind to it.
No.
No, sir.
Okay. So you need to devote, just say, I'm going to get this done. And I think that you could almost sit down and with some devoted time and you could almost complete this task in one sitting if you would work hard at it and really dedicate yourself to it. Just don't wait until Sunday night at 8 o'clock and it's due to me by 9 o'clock, okay? If you have any questions, you can reach out to me. You can reach out to Dr. Revis between now and then. But we need to see it in Blackboard for me to go ahead and give you the go ahead. And I will tell you, Philip and Rebecca both, it was easy. They made it easy for me. They had, I mean, it was very comprehensive and it was easy for me to read it and to say, move on to the next task. Okay. Task 2, and I'm doing this because Rebecca's ready for this and Philip has already turned it in. I've got to look at his tonight, and Philip will be ready to move on to task 3. This is your school environmental analysis. This is the second of the 3 analyses conducted for the CAP. This is what you're going to do. You're going to use quantitative data instruments. These are the real numbers and actual results to help understand staff perceptions of the school environment. Now, when you go to the link for the North Carolina Teacher Working Conditions Survey and you review the summary results, you are using quantitative data when you use percentages, etc. The information is there. What you need is mapped out for you already. You've just got to go find it and decide what it is that you're going to use. In addition to using existing data and information, you will be responsible for engaging in some qualitative research. This will be done through the following, in addition to any other methods that you think that may not be listed. This can be through SurveyMonkey, to create your own survey by revisiting questions used in the Teacher Working Conditions Survey or similar instruments. You're going to go back and you're going to look, and I know you just got it back, but you don't have to do a lot. You need to pick 4 or 5 questions that you think are relevant and just kind of see where people are now, because I mean, it has been a little bit of time since the survey was done. And just come up with something that's going to, and it may not change. And if it doesn't, then you talk about your comparative analysis will be that, the results are the same. If there is a change, you talk about it and you may say, this happened, we feel that this happened because. It could be that, that all of a sudden there was bad administration and you got bad results, but all of a sudden there has been a change in administration and everybody thinks that that person's the best thing since sliced bread. So, all the results went way up. So, there's a lot of reasons why something could change. You do not want this to be a cumbersome activity for willing participants. So make it easy, fast and easy. And this was when we had, we're in the midst of COVID, but I still give you that option. You can do a focus group and set it up with Zoom if you want to, and just do an interview session with them. And this could be the group that you've consistently been working with. It doesn't matter. And again, you go back to the Teacher Working Conditions Survey, ask some of the same questions. You just pick and choose what it is out of those 5 areas, what it is that you want to ask. You can conduct one-on-one interviews via Zoom, or you can do it over the phone. It doesn't matter. And if you do, you just script the results and identify it as teacher A, teacher B, teacher C, or whatever. And this is these are just some info. This is where you can get other information from and suggestions. So task 2 is looking at what you already have and then creating a survey and revisiting some of the questions that you've already asked and seeing where people are now and then talking about those results. Any questions about task 2? Philip, you've done task 2. Talk to us about your involvement with that and how you feel about it.
Sorry. With task 2, I really just, like I said, I spent a lot of time looking through previous evidences and reviewing some of the data that I was able to pull about the demographics for the student and staff. And I noticed that the school profile was able to shorten it and really just highlight some of the high key components, more or less, of what the operational side of the school was. But the big thing for the school environment analysis that I looked at, I utilized more stuff, like I said, from the APTL just looking at that teacher empowerment survey that I utilized in that, it was able to kind of help me guide and see things. When I pushed it out to my teachers real quick, we were able to look at instructional practices, overall operations within the school, and they were able to just kind of respond with their empowerment, how they felt. We looked at teacher leadership, efficacy, effective professional development, and instructional strategies. I took that and basically, when I was going through it to kind of help everybody out, the figures that I inputted into my documentation was just simply taking their answers and their percentages by grade level, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. And I just listed the questions out that dealt with professional development, that dealt with their reflections of their own practice, teachers as effective leaders. And once I built that data, I was able to look at that, and then I utilized for student achievement. I was able to go to the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction, look at our READY accountability model to notice that our school was graded out for a B for this 2020-2021 year. And because the 21-22 hasn't been released to us yet. Use that metrics for the last 3 years, was able to notice, obviously 19-20 was COVID. So the data points that I really pulled was the 2020-2021 school year and the 21-22 school year to be able to see a relative growth or decline in our scores for our EOC courses, as well as the ACT and ACT work keys. And working through that, the data point, it was very reflective for me through the process of the CAP to be able to see the effects of COVID and kind of how the evolution of teaching and the instructional practices, how they were changed, and what my SIT team was saying was going to be our key factors even this year leading in to try to bring up those numerics, because we were affected so heavily by the pandemic.
Wow. I'm going to take you on the road, Phil, if you're ready to be a principal. That was great. Thank you for sharing that. That
Yes,
was
sir.
great.
Yep.
Okay, let's look at task 3. And again, I'm giving you an overview of all this. The cultural competence analysis is the third of the 3 analyses conducted by the CAP. And we've put in here exactly what is meant by cultural competence. And you can read this, but I'm going to read it. Cultural competence refers to an ability to interact effectively with people of different cultures and socioeconomic backgrounds, particularly in the context of human resources, nonprofit organizations, and government agencies whose employees work with persons from different cultural, ethnic backgrounds. Cultural competence comprises 4 components: awareness of one's own cultural worldview, attitude towards cultural differences, knowledge of different cultural practices and worldviews, and cross-cultural skills. Developing cultural competence results in an ability to understand, communicate with, and effectively interact with people across cultures. We know that diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, has been the big words over the past couple of years. That's the same thing. That you're dealing with what those plans that you're putting in place in your workplaces now to deal with diversity, equity, and inclusion all fit directly into the definition of cultural competence. And what you have to do is you have to measure the level of cultural competence at your school by assessing through consumer research, such as internet searches on school websites, or qualitative methods as used in task 2, or a combination of both the following. And you've got to look at it, you're doing an analysis of it. What does your school's vision and mission look like? What does it say? You and your team, you're going to talk about it. You're going to say, this is what my vision is. This is what our vision is. This is what it says. You've got to determine, is it as a team, is it an effective vision? Is your mission statement relevant to the cultural competence of your community, your school? You've just got to say, kind of where this is what it is. This is what we have, and this is where it is and what it looks like. The next one is going to be a little bit tougher to deal with, but you've got to deal with it. And a lot of this can be taken directly from your your teacher working conditions survey. There's a section in there that deals with school leadership. You can also do a new survey. You don't have to if administration is now different from when the last, but you just go back in there and look at what does the most recent teacher working conditions survey have to say about school leadership at your school. You've got to talk about it. And in your plan, I know you have to be careful, but you've got to be honest because I mean the facts are already out there, and you've got to look at that and address it to the best of your ability, because that does impact the overall school, how people perceive and work with administration. And I hope for most of you or all of you that that's not going to be a problem. I hope things are good at your school with your administration. And then you're going to look at teacher quality as measured by experience and certifications. We know that right now that's a big issue everywhere. Schools cannot find enough teachers. And then when you do find them, a lot of times, are you just having to fill in the blank with somebody, or is it somebody that truly is a quality teacher based on experience and certificate? What does it look like in your school? Just be honest. What does parental involvement and support look like in your school? Do you have an active PTA, PTO? If you're a middle school or a high school, do you have an active, booster club, athletic club? Look at what parental involvement looks like in your school and support. If it's a problem, then we need to address it in that action plan. Conflict resolution. How do you deal with problems in the school? If there are problems in the school, if there's problems with students, look at that. If there's problems, if there's teacher issues, personnel issues, how are they addressed? If there's problems with irate parents coming in, or how are those kinds of things? What you look at? And you may have addressed some of these things when you were in 603 and the OMA as well. And again, we're coming back to, you've done this a million times. What does student achievement look like in your school? What does it look like? And this probably will be updated from when you first started because you've got the most recent test results back now. This analysis must contain a list of recommendations that include specific activities and programs designed to present an action plan that will improve the culture of your school. So when you look at all of this stuff, you've got to come up with, these are problems and these are recommendations that we feel like can begin moving the pendulum in a more positive direction. And your committee is going to help you with that as well, and your surveys that you're going to get back. Any questions about task 3 at this point? I know you're not there yet, and you may have more next week when we get there. And then finally, task 4. This is where you're going to put it all together. All the work that you've done in task 1, 2, and 3, you're going to put it together in task 4. The candidate, you're going to develop an action plan, an electronic framework to graphically display the progress of the school related to cultural advocacy and safety. This framework will have data that will demonstrate graphically the beginning and ending data sets that measure the progress of the school on the parameters identified in the following. You're going to pull all of this together. Your climate analysis, your school environmental analysis, and your cultural competence analysis. This is where your action plan, these are the problems that you found in each of these areas. You're going to say, this is where we are. And then as you put your graphic organizer in there and be consistent with what you've used all along the way with your graphic organizer, put your plan in there as your plan of action, what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, who's going to be involved in it, how you're going to determine, you're going to measure it for fidelity to make sure that it's happening. And what is your end result? Put some dates in there when it needs to start, your midterm, short-term, midterm, long-term goals. All of those things need to play out as you're designing your action plan. And this further explains how you can what you need to put in your action plan or consider putting in there. Then you're going to talk about it. You're going to provide some narrative work that talks about that action plan. And it may be some repetitive work that you've already talked about in tasks 1, 2, and 3, but you need to pull it all together, surmise, talk about it, and bring it, surmise it. You're going to be responsible for presenting these results and recommendations of the CAP to your administration. There must be evidence of the presentation in your final CAP. This should include the slides from your presentation. If you're unable to meet face-to-face, then you do a Zoom session, but you should be able to meet face-to-face with your administration and go over that. And if possible, a picture of you presenting is always a great artifact. So those are the four sections or 4 tasks of the CAP. It sounds like a lot. The CAP is probably the easiest of all the evidences to complete. That's what we have found. That's what we have found in the past with most students. They found it easier to work with. Does everybody know how you need to get started at least with task 1? Any questions about that? Rebecca, you're going into task 2. Do you have any questions about task 2?
I guess my questions, so you're saying use SurveyMonkey, can I use Microsoft Forms and?
You can, yes. Yes, that can
Okay,
be.
from
I
example.
use SurveyMonkey as an example.
Okay,
It can be whatever works best for you.
I think using my email, Microsoft Teams would probably be.
Yeah. Okay, well that works. Whatever works for you. Philip, as you're moving into task 3, do you have any questions?
No, sir. I've
Okay.
actually started working on it this evening.
Okay.
And piecing it together, it looks just more like tying in everything, like finding a lot of that information and stuff to kind of verify and relate to would be off my school website with the mission
Right.
statement, vision.
Right.
And then I also have our most recent SIT team, basically SIT team for the year to start this year. So I'm pulling that for some data points as well.
Right. Task 3 is probably going to be the most cumbersome of the 3. Take a little more time on that one because it involves more areas you've got to do research into. So that's it. Well, reach out to Dr. Revis and me if you do have any questions about that. But remember, I need to see the draft of task 1 no later than Sunday night by 9 o'clock. If you get through with it ahead of time, like Philip and Rebecca, go ahead and get it to me. They will tell you, I try to give quick turnaround on your work. So get it to me as quickly as you can, and you'll get a response back from me. Normally, I would have already responded back to you earlier today, Philip, but I was tied up in some things and was not in the office and could not get to my computer until this afternoon. So that's why I had not responded back to you on that. So, and with that in mind, there's one more thing I want to go over, and this is the assignment section. There are 11 assignments that you must complete in addition to the evidence and the task stream requirements. Assignment 1 is actually due this week. This is from your Northouse reading, the Northouse book, using a quotation from chapter 1 of Northouse's leadership to describe the difference between organizational leadership and management. What is the difference? You're to cite the text using APA style, briefly tell in your own words why you want to be a leader. What is the difference based on what Northouse says? What is the difference between leadership and management? And then tell me why you want to be a leader. We're going to talk about this. We'll talk about this some next Wednesday evening. We'll share out some after I've read your work and I get a feel of some of your responses. I'll actually call you out and ask you to share some things from that. And you need to look at which week assignments are due. Pretty much each week, and a different assignments due towards later on. There is a week that skips, but you'll see when these assignments are due, and just make sure that they're in on that Sunday night by 9 o'clock. A lot of it is from your readings. You can see assignment 2 is from your reading. Assignment 3 is your first case study. So with your Zoom team, you must plan, when are we going to get this done? And we follow the same format that we've followed in the past. We will spend a little bit of time doing some reflection on these, not like you did in 603, but we'll do a little bit of reflection on these when we come back the following Wednesday after you have turned them in on that Sunday night. So just look at and then when you click on it, let's just go to assignment 4. Let me show you. When you click on it, the assignment there, but this is where you will actually, when you click on it, that's where you submit your work. You submit your work on the assignment. It tells you what to do, and you send it in there, and then it goes to Blackboard for me to assess. The biggies are going to be, and you need to look at this. These are not your biggies. Your case studies you're going to work out, but your biggie is going to be, okay, this is the big one. Assignment 8. Now, if you haven't already, this is your strengths-based leadership textbook. You can order this. Don't get a used book, and I'm going to tell you why. In the back, you're going to see this little folder in the back. If it's open like mine is, that means that the assessment's already been done. You have to do a personal assessment at the end of the reading of this book. So you must get a new book with a new assessment in there. They're not that expensive. How many have some of you already gotten the book?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Philip, you know how much it was?
Give me 1 second. I can tell you. What's the name of it again? Just to
Strength-based leadership.
I paid $15 for mine.
Okay, good. Thanks, Stephen. So I mean, it's going to vary, but you can find good deals on these if you go to. But make sure it's not a used book. It's a new book, and it's got the assessment in the back of it. But you need to go ahead and there's a lot of independent work that you have to do. But then after the independent work, there is a team assignment that you have to complete with this as well, and it will be led by your Zoom leader. So go ahead and look at these things ahead of time, and you need to put a plan of action in place, how and when you and your team's going to get together to do those things. That's got to be done. This is your third assignment 9, your third case study. Assignment 10, and Dr. Lamb has done this already, but you're going to listen to him again because he's always got lots of wisdom, and we got to make Dr. Lamb happy. So we're going, even if you've heard it, you're going to listen to it again and learn something new. He's going to talk to you about interviewing, and he's going to give you some new tidbits. So assignment 10 is Dr. Lamb, and he's going to, we'll do a reflection on that. But then assignment 11 is going to be, I'm going to call this your exam. And this is the final thing you have to do before you get out of our class, after you've completed all your Blackboard work and all your task stream work and all your evidence work. This is the last thing that you'll submit to us. And Dr. Revis is going to lead this assignment. Dr. Revis, would you like to talk about it?
Well, just very generally, this is like a culminating assignment where you will work in teams, and you will take, each team will take one of the digital competencies for school leaders, and you will do an activity with it. And we'll just leave it at that right now, but it will require you to work in your teams.
Right.
And, we'll get down to some of the details later on, but that's going to be your kind of like your final exam for the course. And you will be actually presenting as a team to the entire class.
And we spent it takes us about probably close to 2 hours on this last class to be able to do this, but I promise you, every class that Dr. Evans and I have with this, it has been a most rewarding experience. I promise you. Dr. Revis and I are just have been awed by the growth and the professional way that these presentations have been given. So, you know, you're going to surprise yourself when you get to that point as well. But that's kind of where we are. I know it sounds like a bunch. It is a bunch, but remember, you're not eating the whole elephant. Today you're eating it a bite at a time. So you know, take a bite of the elephant, and the first bite is to get task 1 of the CAP to me by Sunday night for review, to complete assignment 1, and to do your enrollment verification activity, and to reach out to your Zoom teams and communicate with each other, and go ahead and begin putting a plan of action in place. Now, all of you that I'm going to tell you, has anybody heard anything from Candor at all? Does anybody know how to reach out to Candor?
I emailed her today to try to set up our first Zoom.
Okay. Keep on working on Candor, and tell her that she missed a lot, and tell her that she needs to review this video tonight and to get started. So will you take Candor and try to see what you can do to help with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Has anybody heard from Mary? Mary Bates. Who knows Mary?
Hey, we talked to Mary. Sasha and I talked to Mary a couple of days ago, maybe Wednesday of last week, actually. And she said that she was coming on, but I can text her and
Will
let her
you
know.
reach out to her, Emma, and let her know that she
Yes.
missed a lot tonight, and try to get her started by looking at the video and what's due this week, so she doesn't get behind?
Yes, I will do that right now.
Okay. Stephen is here. Let me see.
And I'm sorry I was late. We had open house tonight.
That's okay. That's okay, Stephen. I understand that, but you've got everything, Stephen. Shay is here. Anybody heard from Nyree?
I can shoot her a text. She was in my group since we started.
Okay, Stephen, if you would reach out to Nyree and try to get her on track so she's not behind next week when we come on, okay?
Okay.
Okay, who knows Arius Murray?
I know her.
Okay, Michael, could you reach out to Arius?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Daryl Owens. Does
I
anybody
also know Daryl. He was in my group since
Okay.
we started, but I don't know if he is
would
still
you
in
reach
the
out
program.
would you reach out to Daryl as well?
I don't know if he's still in the program though.
He showed up, he's registered for the program. So just see what you can do. Don't worry over it, but see if you can reach out to him, if he'll respond.
Okay.
Okay. Sasha's here. And I thought Simona was going to be back with us, but I don't see her in here. So Dr. Revis, would you reach out to Simona again and see what the status is on that?
I sure will.
Okay, but that pretty much has got everybody.
Hey, Dr. Stedman, I just heard
Oh.
back from Mary. She said she thought the Zoom was at 7. So
Okay.
she just missed the timing being at 6.
Okay, just and everybody just remember that everything's going to be at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
Okay, so Mary will be. She'll review her video then. Okay, that's good. We know that she's at least alive and going to be there. So what questions would you have of Dr. Revis and me before we close out? Does everybody know how to get started?
Dr. Stedman, right quick, you might have said it in the beginning, and I had open house today too, so sorry I was late.
That's great. I understand.
For internship hours,
Uh-huh.
did you give us a date that we had to start? Like that we could go back to?
you can, if you've done anything, even helping out since you turned your last work in,
Okay.
we'll consider that, okay? And
Okay, okay.
work with, but once, when your last work was turned in for 603,
Mhm.
then we'll consider any work that you have done from that point on. Right,
Okay.
Dr. Ravis?
That is correct.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
okay. Shay, it's good to see you again.
Dr.
Okay,
Stedman, I have a question.
Sure.
For our 21 competencies, how do we do that this time since we're not putting them on the cap? Usually we had it at the end as one of
They
the
will all,
tasks.
you won't have any for, your 21 competencies will come when you finish the PSYOP, and all of them are going to be a reflection, and we're going to show you exactly how that needs to be done when you get to the PSYOP. You will address all 21 with the PSYOP,
Okay, all right.
okay? And you have to do them a little bit differently with the PSYOP. But we'll go over the format for that when we get there.
And tagging off that, for the artifacts and evidence, will we still need to collect that?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm. Good questions. Okay. Dr.
If I
Madison,
could,
go ahead.
yeah,
Dr.
if I could just, I just want to make sure with Erica's question, you will need to collect evidences from the CAP, and you can use them, and we'll be using them to put into your competency folio. We're just not gonna pause to do that right now, okay?
We're going to get you started, and Dr. Revis she'll kind of gauge it, the pulse, and there will be a time in the next very few weeks that much of the time will be Dr. Revis talking about those kinds of things as it relates to TaskStream. We just needed to get you really started on your assignments and your evidence work first. Okay. Well, guys, it looks like that I'm looking at experts already, so we can move on. Well, call us if you need us. If I don't answer the phone, make sure you tell me who it is and leave me just say my phone number is, and I'll call you back as soon as I can if I'm in a meeting or whatever, because I do work full time still, and I guess I'll work forever, but I'm busy during the day just like you. But I will find time for you at some point during the day if you need me. Okay. Okay, guys, I will see you next Wednesday at 6 o'clock. Okay.
Dr.
Thank you,
Stedman,
guys.
Yes.
I had one quick question. This is just for me. Right now, I found out that my principal is taking a short leave of absence, but we do not know how long this leave of absence will last. She's taking care of her sick mother who has only been given 1 to 2 months to live.
Right.
We do have a retired administrator serving at our school during this time. So I don't know. Hopefully my administrator will be back before the end of this semester. But if not, what do I need to do?
Do you have an assistant principal?
No, we're one.
Okay. That will be who you work under. You still will have the same site administrator, but you will work under this principal and help out. This is really an opportunity to help out even more with a new person coming in and needing help. So and if you have any questions about anything, speak directly to Dr. Revis and she'll guide you on that.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah, I just wasn't sure and wanted to make sure that I know I'm still at the same school. Nothing else has changed. And hopefully my principal will be back in time. And she said she would sign off on anything. She knows how hard I work this summer. I work 10-hour days with her every day this summer. So
yeah, you'll be fine. You'll be fine, Erica. And Dr. Revis, we both know your work ethic. We've worked with you already, so we know that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Other questions before we go? Okay, guys, I will see you. I'll look for your work by Sunday night and I'll see you next Wednesday. Okay. Okay, bye.
Good night.